Chapter 39. The bathroom door was locked. "Ashley!" Laura yelled. No answer. Laura ran at the door and kicked. Bang! Her right leg numbed from the impact. The door held. This was not as easy as it looked in the movies. Grazé barked fiercely from somewhere outside the house, then yelped as though struck. She would have to check on him later. No doubt he had been keeping tabs on Donald. The big man had probably attacked the dog, which meant Donald was still close. If she could dispatch Ashley quickly, she could find him. She tried kicking at the door again, and her hip and knee joints burned. It's just a mental door, she kept telling herself. She stepped back to assault the wood again. This time she heard a crack and saw splinters where the lock entered the frame. She kicked again, and as the door burst inward, several pieces of wood fell and clattered on the floor inside. Ah! Sharp pain bolted up her right leg when she set it down. The bathroom was small. Ashley didn't have many hiding places. The window was wide open, and the screen was bent and pushed outwards. A ruse or a true escape? Laura limped to it. No Ashley outside. But she could have run out of sight. Laura checked the cupboards and shower just in case the girl was still inside. No one. She ran as fast as her hurt leg would allow, threw the front door open and entered the night. Unable to see or run well, she stumbled and pitched off the front porch steps, rolling along the walkway. Her arms and elbows burned from the scrapes. Looking to her left, she saw her little dog motionless on the grass. "Grazé!" No response. She crawled to him and felt for a pulse. None. Donald had killed Grazé. Now she wouldn't be able to track Donald or Ashley with the dog's keen sense of smell. Desperation darkened the edges of her vision. She rose, shook the pain from her leg, and ran to the curb, looking both directions. "Ashley, I'm only trying to help." Laura began to cry. Emptiness ate at her insides. Without Grazé, she felt incomplete. She hadn't realized how important the dog was to her. She sat on the curb and set the gun down. Drying her eyes, she surveyed the area. Street lamps illuminated sections of the street in dusty orange, leaving other parts saturated in grayed gloom. What had Project X done to these people to cling to this place so irrevocably? It was a false world, for heaven's sakes. Though it was fake, they fastened to it just after 3 weeks of residing here. Even after experiencing the hospital for herself, Ashley ran from the truth. The poor girl. She had an entire life ahead with real experiences. She didn't deserve this deception. The girl was selfless, sensitive, and kind. Her actions would be invaluable to the world. Her relationships to people and animals would add depth and compassion where none existed before. And through her courage, love, and determination, she would help good people grow stronger. None of this would occur if Ashley remained here. But time was dwindling. Laura had to do something fast. Otherwise, no one would escape. Action was essential. She picked up the revolver and pointed it at her head and began to apply pressure to the trigger. The steel felt heavy and solid in her hand. The bullet's impact would no doubt bring great pain for an instant. She hesitated with indecision and perhaps fear. Project X really did have a brilliant plan of making the only exit from this world being death. They used the natural life instinct inherent in everyone to hold them prisoners. The weight of the gun felt unbearable. Her arms trembled. She thought of the girl again. What had she been considering? Ashley couldn't be left here. Desperation had skewed Laura's reasoning, as did the loss of her dog. Laura was not herself. They all had to go together. Freeing a couple of people wouldn't pull the others out as well. They all had to leave this place. She lowered the gun. She would search this dream world, hoping Tina and Jeff wouldn't get caught at the hospital, have their memories tampered, and then be sent back here, preventing anyone from ever escaping. "I parked a block away," Donald huffed as they ran down the sidewalk. Ashley felt a sudden constriction around her right ankle and slowed to a limping walk. She tried running again, but stopped from the intense pain. She bent down and massaged it. Donald slowed and looked back. "What's wrong?" "I'm not sure. Ouch." She sat on the sidewalk. "It feels like someone is squeezing my ankle." He went to her. As she pulled her white sweats and pulled down her pink sock to her shoe, he checked her ankle. "Nothing's there. You probably just twisted it running." "But I'm a good runner." She took off her tennis shoe and sock. Nothing was visible around any part of her foot, ankle, or lower calf. Yet the tight, painful sensation remained. She rotated her ankle, trying to rid it of pain. "Let's keep moving and work it out." "Why would it twist tonight when I've ran in track for a year without any problems?" "Come on, let's go." Then, just as quickly as it had come, the pain vanished. She replaced her sock and shoe and continued down the sidewalk with him, but felt strangely uncomfortable with the fleeting ankle pain. Within less than a minute, they reached his purple Chevy SUV. With the hum of the tires against the road and the calm of the smooth ride, she cried silently in the passenger seat. She wished Tina was around to talk with her. She felt lost. Questioning her decision to ditch Laura, she looked at Donald. He was intent on the road, speeding down the residential streets of Whittier. "Why would Laura want to kill us?" "Some people just lose it, kid." "But I trusted her. She seems so kind." "Yeah, people snap. You got to learn that early on. It's better to know it and be ready than pretend it never happens." He glanced at her. "I'm sorry you had to learn so early." This advice didn't make her feel better. "Snap?" "Yeah, my wife snapped. She took the house, half my income, most my weekends with my kid. Yeah, people snap. You don't expect it, but then they turn on you." Although he didn't show sadness, she felt it. "You're married?" "Long ago. Divorced now." He drove along in silence. She looked at his left hand, which held the steering wheel alone. A thick gold wedding band was still on his finger. Perhaps he still loved his wife, even after all the difficulties they must have gone through. As cars, houses, trees, and streetlights passed, Ashley began to feel emptiness growing inside of her. "Where are we going?" "I don't know. Maybe drive until we figure it out." She said softly, "I want to go back home." He tightened his grip on the wheel and narrowed his eyes. "We're all a little shook up, kid. Think about it. Your home is the first place Laura would look. We can't risk it." "But I understand, kid," he sighed. "I want to go back to mine, too." She began crying again, feeling helpless and alone. "Jeff and Tina were murdered. Charlie's probably dead." "I know. We need to protect ourselves now." He checked the rear-view mirror. She looked back. "Who's behind us?" He hesitated. "No one, probably." "Where did that black stuff come from?" Donald turned his head to his side window. "You don't want to know." "I do." "You don't." She did. Why didn't he want to tell her? Could she trust him? She felt so alone. Her heart felt cleaved. She kept seeing Jeff laying in a pool of blood, and Tina, although she hadn't known them long, she felt closer to them than she did anyone else, including her own mother. They were good people. She had believed Laura was too. Ashley had made poor choices of trusting people in the past, such as with her ex-friend Marisol. The cheerleader and her sidekicks had only pretended to be Ashley's friend to make sure the rumors Marisol spread around school were believed. But how many mistakes did Ashley have to make to read people right? She felt Laura to be a genuine friend. How could she have been so wrong? And how could Laura have killed good people? A snap wasn't a good enough explanation. It didn't make sense. As firmly as she could, she said, "I want to turn around." "Are you nuts?" "I want..." She didn't know what she wanted. She just felt torn and in need of the people she had lost. She felt like dying. When she felt this way before, she cut herself to feel better. But it had never been so bad that she would really end her life. Now she could. Maybe Laura could do it for her. Laura killing her wouldn't be such a bad thing. It would be an end to the anguish inside. Tears sliced down her cheeks, not even lessening the wrenching feeling inside her chest. Crying was supposed to help, but it wasn't helping now. Crying seemed to make it worse. She whispered, "I want to die." "What?" "You heard me." Donald slowed the Chevy. "Stop that crazy talk, kid." "I want to go with them." "You aren't serious." "Let me out," she snapped. "I'll walk back." He accelerated the Chevy. "Please." He scowled. "I'm not letting you waste your life. You'll thank me later." "No, I won't." "You've been through a lot. You're not thinking clearly." "I don't care." She really didn't care. "I'll open the door and jump if I have to." Although she didn't want to do that, she preferred Laura killing her. At least then she would go the same way Tina and Jeff did. Ashley didn't know how it all worked, if it worked at all. But Laura might need to kill her to go back to the hospital. If Laura was right, Ashley would be back with Jeff and Tina. And if Laura wasn't, then at least the pain inside would end. Donald flicked the electric door locks. Forget it! She didn't mind dying, but she did mind decisions being made for her. She already felt too helpless. You can't. It's my body. I'll do what I have to do to protect you, he said sternly. I don't need protection. He didn't answer. She rarely got angry, but she really hated people controlling her. Stop! It's my life! Ashley reached for the bottom of the steering wheel and pulled as hard as she could, sending the SUV lurching to the left into the oncoming lane of traffic, which was empty at this time of night. Hey, what are you... He tried correcting for the turn with both hands, but she had surprised him, and she kept turning the wheel with as much force as she could muster. He slammed the brakes, screeching the tires. Stop! Not wearing her seatbelt, she flew into the dashboard, sharp pain stabbing her ribs, but she held the wheel. The SUV was drifting toward the curb on the other side of the road. Parked cars threatened ahead. He quit resisting and actually spun the wheel with Ashley, moving the SUV harder to the left to avoid the parked cars. She tried steering the Chevy back into the path of collision. If they crashed, they were moving slow enough for Donald to be unharmed, but she would have a chance to escape. His strong arms held the advantage now, turning the SUV safely onto the sidewalk and through someone's mailbox, shards of wood bursting into the air. The vehicle skidded to a stop on the front lawn. Oh, she exclaimed. Let me out! She banged on the window with her fists, not caring whether she cut herself if the glass shattered. He grabbed her flailing arms. Get a hold of yourself, kid! Let me go!